Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about guitars. I know, weird, right? So on this channel, I've talked about video games, TV shows, movies. I brought my wife on here to talk about her collecting of toys and other nostalgic, classic things. But one thing I haven't really talked about are the guitars. And I don't consider myself a guitar collector, but I have been playing guitar for a little over 20 years now and have acquired a few. And every guitar has a story to it, so I thought it'd be fun to share that with you guys, so let's get started. Since there is so much to talk about, I thought it'd be easier to split this up into multiple videos. So today we're going to be talking about my ESP Eclipse collection. I do have quite a few of these guitars. I'm really drawn to these guitars. I don't know what it is, I can't really explain it, but they just feel like they were made for me in a way. So first up is my EC-1000 see-through black cherry. This guitar was actually the first guitar I ever bought with my own hard-earned money. I got my first job at Walmart, pushing carts. I saw this guitar in a magazine. At the time, ESP guitars were kind of elusive, and the reason why I really badly wanted an ESP was because I was a big Metallica fan in my teens, and of course, they pretty much only used ESP at that time, and I wanted to be like Metallica. But I saw this guitar in a Musician's Friend magazine and instantly fell in love with it. So I remember I was getting a paycheck of like $400 every 2 weeks or something like that. So I basically set aside $200 from each paycheck, lived off $100 a week, which, I mean, I was living at home with my parents. It wasn't that hard, eating McDonald's pretty much every damn night while I was at work, and saved up the money and bought it. And it was on back order. It seemed like it took forever, but I remember the day I got it, and there was no turning back. I absolutely loved this guitar, and at that point, I knew that these were just my go-to guitars, and that's why I've acquired quite a few over the years. So let's move on to the next one. So next up is another EC-1000. This is, I think they call it the Vintage Black, I believe. This guitar, the one thing I didn't mention about the see-through black cherry, that's actually an older model. I don't know when, but at some point they started using the EMG 60 and 81 combo, where that one was just EMG 81s. So, random fact. So this was actually a gift from the wife. I really badly wanted this guitar for a while. I don't know what it is about like flat black and gold. I don't know. It just looks awesome to me. So long story short, the wife and I back then didn't have a whole lot of money. And what we would do when income tax came around, we basically split it in half and then just blow it on whatever. So I'm pretty sure at that time, I wasn't collecting video games. I remember buying like a couple of microphones and stuff like that. And I guess she didn't know what to buy and went to Guitar Center and picked this up for me on her way home from work and surprised me with it. And yeah, this is one of my favorite guitars. Not just for that. I love the color scheme, like I said, and it plays great. And what's funny is the next guitar I'm going to get to was the guitar I specifically bought for playing shows. Now, if you don't really go out to like shows, the bars aren't necessarily the best places. Let's just say that. So I was kind of afraid to take something that is somewhat expensive, but also has so much sentimental value to me. And there was one particular bar we played at. It was a nicer bar. We played there a couple of times, and I felt comfortable bringing this guitar. And there was one guy, had a bit too much to drink, and but he was really enjoying the show. Cool guy, whatever. But I remember he was standing in front of me. The stage wasn't very high off the ground. And he started like chug beer. And apparently chugged too much. And the next thing I know, there is just beer being spit at me, all over my guitar. Almost lost my shit. Thankfully, brought it home, cleaned it up. No harm done. But since then, it has not left the house. So next up is an EC-256. So this is one of the cheaper models, and honestly, I don't see a big difference. I really don't. And it costs half the price of the other two. So, I mean, the big thing is, obviously, this doesn't have EMG pickups in it. These are just kind of like stock or whatever, but, I mean, they don't sound bad. They don't have as much power, but, I mean, they're not bad. It works for you know, small little gigs, whatever. So this guitar, like I said, I specifically bought this for shows, and I bought it used, so I got it even cheaper, and I was really surprised by it. I instantly fell in love with it. But I remember when I got this, it had a couple of bad frets, and which wasn't surprising. It was used. It is what it is. Nothing you can't fix. And it just happens sometimes. So I took it to the store I had never been to before. Gave it to the guy. Guy was like, give me like 30 minutes or whatever. So I left, and when I came back, I heard the guy playing guitar in the back. So I walk back there, and I see that he's playing this. And he's wailing on it, man. Way better than me. And there's like some random guy with him. And he sees me walking. He's like, man, I was kind of hoping you would take a little bit longer. Man, I love this guitar. And he's like, I've honestly never played ESP before. I was very reluctant because they're so much cheaper than like Gibsons or something like that. He's like, how much did you pay for this? And I told him, and he was like, you've got to be kidding me. I have a $2,000 Gibson at home that does not play as good as this. So yeah, he instantly fell in love with this guitar. And the one thing I've learned over the years, especially with electric guitars, you don't need to spend a shit ton of money for a decent guitar. You really don't have to. And I think that's one of the reasons I like ESP so much, because they are cheap, they're affordable, and they're good guitars in my opinion. I've never had a problem with them. So moving on. So next up is another gift from the wife. This is another EC-256, and we were both a little, I don't want to say disappointed, but kind of set aback when we got this, because the photo on the website where we bought it from, this was also used. It looked kind of like a bluish gray color, and as you can tell, it's not. And I don't know how well you can see the color, but it's definitely not bluish gray. But regardless, I still like this guitar. It's really nice, very pretty. Plays great, like the others. Not much of a story behind it, but we were kind of both a little upset that it wasn't the color that we thought it was, because both of us really liked it, and at the time, like, I felt like all I had was just black guitars, which I kind of did. But it's not technically black. It does look like it in the video the more I look at it, but in person, it's not quite black. Not quite black, that's what we'll call it. So last up is the newest guitar in my collection. That is the EC-407 7-string, and I still got the strap on. Strap on. So as a teenager, I was a huge Korn fan. I don't really listen to them much anymore, but of course, I had to get a 7-string. I had to tune down low to play their songs. And I remember the first one I got was a Carvin DC-747, and I loved it. But as I got older, I kind of lost interest in it, and I just kind of stopped playing it. And a certain guitar came up, and it was the reason why I sold it. And I'll tell that story when we get to that guitar. But recently, you know, as I've gotten older and I've been writing music a lot more serious now, I don't know, I kind of wanted to get one just to kind of maybe spark some interest. I have a very short attention span, so if I'm stuck, like, I don't know, I like to mess around with different tunings and all this kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be fun to bring this back. Plus, I have a bunch of metal songs I wrote on my 7-string that I can't play anymore, but now I can. So thankfully, I saw this. I got it for relatively cheap. Again, it was used, I think. Got it off eBay. Yeah, I really love this. I've been playing the hell out of it since I got it. So yeah, no regrets. Well, anyways, guys, that was my ESP Eclipse collection. Like I said, I absolutely love those guitars. I do recommend them, or at least giving them a try. I haven't really messed with some of the other ESP models, so I can't really speak to them. But, I mean, if you like Les Paul, give them a chance, because for the price, in my opinion, they can't be beat. My opinion. Well, stay tuned for the next video where I'll be talking about either acoustic guitars or random other guitars. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again real soon.